Well, hello, family.
Hello. Happy New Year's 2 days late.
Yes. New Year's day after.
Yep.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Pastor Sarah, Pastor Don?
I mean,
Good.
I'm
I'm just sharing right now. I'm just sharing on my personal feed. That's all I'm trying to do.
I see. You want to tell everybody that might be watching, anybody that might be watching what you're doing, so they could maybe, if they would like to. Oh, Pastor David, it's etiquette that you never walk in front of the camera.
I'll stay behind it.
No. Have a seat. Why don't you take that shirt and let's put, I got a coat, a jacket.
What, you just gotta click on it.
No, mine's working.
Okay, thank you.
So, we're sharing.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Liz.
I'm gonna attempt to. This doesn't look like I'm gonna.
So check out what I
Trying
have
to share
tonight.
my beautiful Bible.
Pastor Sarah's want me to use her Bible. She said, this is the most anointed Bible in New Mexico, is what she's been telling me lately.
It's the most anointed for me.
Hi, Amanda. Essenmacher.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey!
Why doesn't my share button come up?
Are you on Atomic Church or on your personal?
I'm on Atomic Church. It should come up.
Well, we can't share it on church.
Because that's what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Anyways, we're gonna share.
We're gonna share.
And if you're on, you should go in and share as well. Seeing as
It's
how,
nice to share.
seeing as
Share.
how you love Atomic Church.
Just don't share colds.
Right.
That's right. So, as you share, there's a subject that needs to be talked about. It's just like obvious to me at the table. And it's the man on the other end of the table with that ugly shirt on.
Oh, what happened today?
And
Come over here closer. You're like way up in.
Can't, chair doesn't do that.
Oh, just move that.
yeah, move it.
There.
Just move it on down, wherever you need it.
Get it out of the way. There you go. That's all I was talking about.
All right, I shared.
Good job, Pastor Sarah.
Amanda, the Rams played well today, David.
Good enough.
Boy, you talking about sucking up. Good night. I didn't know you were like that.
Hi, Lena.
All right,
I
good.
like the Essen
Hi, Bobby.
mockers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bobby. Oh, Bobby's got a football on his pillow.
What is he doing?
He
It
got a
says
football.
love football.
So I was talking about Bobby for a minute. You know, just about the time we were sure that the Cowboys were not going to have another victory. We get so tired of winning. It's crazy. Yeah. And when he was pretty sure, I think that he started calling me.
Oh,
And I've been in some meetings today, and different things. I've been out. We have errands and stuff, and I haven't been looking at my phone. And I finally heard it ringing in here. I got home, and I heard it ringing, and I came right in here, and I missed it. And I called. I looked down there, and Bobby today, this afternoon, since the Cowboys lost, he has tried to call me 6 times today.
well, answer the
I
phone.
don't know why he's
What
trying
if
to
it's
call me.
important? What if he needs help? Like he's old. He might need to go to the hospital.
Oh, he's oh.
I'm just saying, he might need help.
Oh. Well, so
You
I
might
called
need to
him.
answer your phone.
I called him, and the first thing, well, I had a feeling what he might want to talk about maybe.
Okay.
And the first thing he did is he said, well, we're having a meeting next Sunday after church, and wanted to see maybe you and Don and Rod wanted to join in, and we're going to vote to see if we're going to let y'all be Packers fans.
Good job, Bobby.
I think he learned that, didn't he?
I'll
That's
learn
right,
to do
Liz.
something
We'll
like
get him
that.
next year.
Yeah,
I don't know where Bobby would learn something like that.
I don't
Yeah, I
either.
know, right?
all I know is this, Bobby has one of the sweetest hearts anybody knows. He really does.
Oh, yeah.
But he's got a smart mouth, man. Like crazy smart, And
Well, isn't he like the #1 seed now?
that's something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Where are the Cowboys at?
The Cowboys, what we're doing is we're getting ready for next year.
You can do this every season for the last 25.
We don't. It's not like we're not blind to the facts. I was telling Bobby this. It's part of being a winner, and a lot of people don't understand this because they're just not winners. But sometimes people score more than you. Sometimes you score more than them, but you always are a winner. You're never a loser. So you don't look at things from the same perspective.
Is it that same concept of like, I'll let somebody else win this year because I've won so much in the past?
It's sort of like that.
Kind of like fantasy football for
Sort
me.
of like that. Sort of the same thing for you.
Mom
Can I
said, you go,
just-
David.
Can I just tell you all something real quick? So we have this fantasy football league that we are doing.
Oh, Lord.
My husband won 2 years in a row, but that's not the point I want to make right now.
Okay, here we go.
Why did you even mention that?
I just have to say that because my husband won 2 years in a row. Come on, y'all, I got a good man. And so we have this text string.
Text stream is what it's called.
For anybody who's on the fantasy football league,
There's 11 people on there.
there's
or something like that.
11, no,
There's
12, there's
12.
12 people
Yeah.
on this feed. And this whole, like, how many minutes have we been on here? Like
3 or 4, whatever.
6 minutes.
Okay, 6.
6 minutes worth of time is all day, every day that I have to read in this fantasy football league text
We're
string.
all in, baby.
So this 6 minutes, if y'all are getting a little annoyed, is nothing compared to what we've been dealing with the last few months.
It's
Pray
great,
for
isn't
me,
it?
because I told them I would join again next year with the caveat that I would not be on that text string. I'm just
That's
saying.
So what we're
That
doing.
defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, it
No,
does. I mean,
if you want,
that
no,
takes the
listen, you
fun out
have
of
a
it.
guaranteed win every year if I'm on. You have at least one
That's
guaranteed
that's
win.
true. That's the hard part to let go of right there. That's the hard part. I know I'm not going to be skunked, you know,
Yeah.
with that fair play. So,
Isn't that your 2 wins last year?
kind of, maybe. Last year. Why are you bringing up last year?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Past always comes back for
I'll tell
some
you what,
reason.
somebody, they get in the playoffs and they win the fantasy football league and they get smart around
Hi,
that
Terry.
We're
ball.
in it for the long run.
Yeah, we're in it
It's
for the
okay.
long run. We're not little short-term gamblers.
Isn't she pretty? She just came over to the Cowboys side like 2 years ago, and she's talking like she's been a fan for decades.
Hey, man, I'm all in.
You gotta be, because the Packers are number 1 right now.
I chose a good year. I wanted to be on the same team as my husband,
That's right.
and I'm glad I
I agree there.
did. Good
I've got
choice.
such
Yeah.
a great wife. I really do. I've got such a great wife. I'm so thankful. You know, I've got support right here at the house. And, you know, it's lonely at the top. And,
She even beat you in fantasy.
she did.
On her first year.
She beat both Atwell kid boys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was a really
Hi,
great day. It's interesting how Garrett was telling her how he was going to do it this year.
I heard something like how he's gonna take that trophy that we got, this
Yeah.
plaque that we have, the citizen
The
church.
citizen
Yeah.
church.
How's that going?
We haven't heard
It's not
nothing.
going for you there, you're Atwell.
And so, you know, neither one of us have been talking too much about that. Like when we get Garrett and I together, we're going to work or something, you know, we're in the truck, we don't talk about fantasy football this year much. We strategize on what we're going to do next year to try to stop her, you know. But other than that, that's it. No, it's been fun. We've enjoyed doing that. It's been good. And you know, football season for me, I don't really care. You know, I don't care about all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
25 years
You
in
might
making.
need to go repent.
Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this for all of you. This next Sunday, I've got a very, very special coat of many colors that I'm going to wear at church for you guys, just to celebrate what's getting ready to happen.
Playoffs.
And you guys, maybe, you know, if you're able to come to church, or maybe if you're on Facebook Live, you might be able to see this special coat of many colors that I'm going to wear. Yeah, and it's just, all of it is to celebrate all the non-Cowboy fans. That's what it's for. And I've been waiting to break it out, so I'll break it out.
You got it
next
for your
Sunday.
birthday,
I got it for my birthday.
From your wife and your son and your daughter.
Yeah, it's a beautiful coat of many colors.
Right, but it's already been established where it's gonna go when you're gone.
What do you mean?
It's in somebody else's
And
possession.
it's already been determined who's
What do
gonna
you mean?
inherit it.
Who?
Garrett.
Garrett who? He doesn't need to worry about that coat right now.
Yeah,
I'm still kicking like a chicken,
yeah.
you know.
Maybe when he gets to wear it, there'll be a winning team.
Wow, okay. It's like, what it feels like is, it's just, it
All
feels
day,
like,
every day, for the last few months, people on the text string, I'm telling you.
There's some good ones though, guys. I mean, There's some good memes out there that are floating around that really just.
You don't wanna do it if you don't have thick skin, we'll just put it that
Yeah.
way.
Playing fantasy football in this church league is not just.
And it was really bad, cause at one time I'm like, come on, girls, or something, and I wasn't talking to the girls.
Yeah.
And it was just like silence.
I remember that.
Remember?
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny.
I was encouraging you. I thought it was pretty great. Well,
Okay,
cool, man.
how about something that matters? Eternally.
Ooh la la. Hey. We had a good day at church today. And we talked about tithing. And Donna said she'd never heard the tithing message preached like that. And I thought I enjoyed doing it too. You know, and we just talked about that really it's the way I see it anyway, the way I experience it, it's like a heartfelt, not a have to, it's a get to, with tithing and giving in the kingdom of God. And I know you guys are, you know, generous with your giving, and we are too. And we just see great value in sowing into the kingdom, you know, in so many ways. The return is greater than you're ever going to invest in it. So, and we're grateful. I know it's one of the reasons we all give like we do is because we're grateful for what God's given us, and we know it's from Him. And so,
You know, you said something today that was probably the, like hit or home point for me. I've heard the tithing message. I've heard the tithing message many times because I grew up in church. But you were the first person that I've ever heard, pastor or anybody who has ever preached, first person I've ever heard explain offerings as something other than tithing, which is kind of weird considering I grew up in a very fundamental kind of church, and that was a big focus for them. Because I hear people a lot that will say, oh, you know, I bought the meal for the whatever, so that was my tithe for the month. Well, no, that was an offering.
yes.
But people don't understand the difference, and so it was nice to hear. I think you truly could have gone through even more of the detail.
Oh, definitely.
With
There's a
that.
lot more to it.
But it was nice to hear somebody was actually explaining the difference between tithe and offerings, because the tithe is the storehouse. It goes into the church.
Yes.
And then anything additional is you offering something special, extra, you know? And so it was just, it really, for me, was really nice to hear that somebody was saying that.
Even with that, a lot, and alms are helping people that need help, right? And some people consider that either tithe or offering.
Right.
And it's separate also,
Right.
It
just like
is,
you're
it
talking
actually
about.
is. Yeah, you can go into detail on that. It's like, when you look at the way you can be generous with whatever you have. I mean, there's several different categories there that the Bible explains, you know, like we're talking about right now. Yeah, and I know that we were talking, you know, I remember whenever we decided to start tithing, and it was like, it was, I don't know if scary is the right word, or, I mean, it's just like taking a risk or something. It's like we're doing this, but it's like you have to do it by faith, because like in the natural, it doesn't make sense to you to take.
If you don't have enough already, which most people
Well,
don't.
most people don't have
Right.
an abundance, like
Yeah,
this big abundance,
right.
so you're
Right.
taking from like, you're going, I mean, how we're gonna eat with tithing here, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, how we're gonna pay our bills and.
And we've lived that way before, where it's like, I mean, before we started tithing, when we were thinking about it, we're like, we can't make our bills. There's just no way we can tithe. We can't, It doesn't add up. And like I was saying today, I mean, David can explain it, but we were looking at our budget, and, you know, the income does not match up with the outgoing.
I understand.
And yet we have savings, a
Yeah,
significant
and you guys are both smart people. I mean, you should be able to figure that out, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then we got a math genius over here. Still don't add up. But, you know, we have savings. We have all of our bills paid. We have money left over to do random things. We get to bless people like we have never blessed people before. And it doesn't feel strapping, and yet the math does not look like it's supposed to look when you have that ability.
But like Mom said today, you can't outgive God, and you guys are constantly giving, whether it's you're buying stuff for the church out of your own pocket, that y'all do that when they have different things. I know you do for 31 and different stuff, and then just always helping people, and then tithes, and then offerings, and all that. I mean, God's faithful, man. It's like you were talking about in Genesis, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, it's a principle.
Yeah.
You know?
I think too, like what you're saying, I was thinking about these guys, about Pastor David and Pastor Sarah, you know, and we are too, but, like you get in a pattern of giving, so it's like you're literally giving your life away all the time. You know, I brought it up, you know, to say something about the fact that we don't get paid at the church, you know. So for instance, I mean, we sow also all of our time and energy and effort into church administration and the things that go on with the church, and then the ministry that we do also with the people of the church, and it's all for them, for him and for them. So we're sowing that way too. So it's like you get in, and so you're giving your life away. So I mean, it's easy really in some ways to just give of your whatever you have. You're giving yourself away anyway. So you get in that pattern, like a perpetual pattern of sowing and reaping and sowing and reaping. And God, he causes the increase to come on, you know,
And the
on
increase
the soul.
in our time. I mean, like you were saying today, we do ministry, and it's a full-time job. Please don't ever think that I could literally make you a list of the jobs that each one of us do. It is a full-time job to do ministry, and yet, and here, you know, the four of us, three of us have full-time jobs too. So it's, you know, we could easily look at our schedule and go, it doesn't make sense. We don't have time for this, and yet we still are. I mean, God, we chose to sow our time into ministry, believing that we will have that return. And sure enough, we still have time to relax. We still have time to go do extra things. It doesn't add up. The math doesn't add up even in that category.
I know, man. I'm so with you guys on that. Sure. It's that perpetual pattern of giving, and you know, that's for all of us, right?
That's
I mean, for
because you're
anybody.
sowing supernatural though.
That's
And
right.
so you reap supernatural.
You
You sow natural, you reap natural. So it's the way it works.
We live in a world too that when we pay for something, you know, we put money into something, we're expecting to get something back. And for me, if you don't expect to get anything back, and you just enjoy the blessing that you do get back, it's threefold, fourfold, tenfold, you know.
Yep.
Way better than just, hey, I put in $10, I expect interest on my $10,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but that's not what we're expecting. We're expecting, you know, we're blessing people with our time, with our tithes, with our offerings, the firefighters, you know, everything that we do is more about just giving in, and we're not expecting anything.
No.
I'm not. I know you guys aren't.
Well, we're just looking to say, God, whatever. So
What next,
I'm just
right?
gonna make it interesting. Whatever, however you want to do it next, let's go. Whatever that is.
Yeah. Who can we bless next? What's going to come through the door next, and how are we going to be helpful in, you know, the Rio Rancho area, the Albuquerque area,
Yep.
and beyond.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's things that we do that go beyond that, right?
Yeah.
We're sending out tithes, and that is money, but we're still not expecting. We don't expect back from them either.
We're looking to God,
Yeah.
right? God's our source. So we're gonna trust him in his faith.
Right.
That's what it is, like basic faith 101. We're gonna give, being led by what he's leading us to do, and be generous and give. You know, I've heard people talk about giving till it hurts. It's kind of what I know that a little bit of that goes on sometimes. You know, it's like, you know, every once in a while, I'm going, well, you know, I don't do it with the tithe anymore, used to. But now it's like with offerings and stuff like that, I'm going, well, is this the right place to put this, you know? And I remember being told originally, if you have to give till it hurts, but give, just do it. And get a discipline going and giving. And because God will honor his word. That's what it boils down to. Because he is the source.
Well, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
It
too.
gets easier.
But it is a hard issue, but it's still kind of funny because like when we sold our house, we're like, ugh.
Yeah, we made some pretty good money on our house. And we're like, oh yeah, well
It's
that's
still true, even paying time on here.
paying it on the increase in your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but
awesome though, it's an awesome opportunity.
it's so good to do that. I'm gonna read something here, and we had a meeting with some of our young people in our church earlier today, and we were talking about, and I read a short article. I'm not gonna read the article, but this is one scripture. It's in Hebrews 13, verse 17, and And what we were talking about is like accountability, and what does accountability look like, and is it kind of like, is accountability really just one-sided? In other words, I give you the rules, and either you obey them or you don't, and if you do, that's good, if you don't, I'm gonna hammer you. You know, that's accountability. Well, no, that's not biblical accountability, actually. We came up with quite a few today. I thought the conversation was great we had with some of our young people in our church, and open and good. And when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, I even have a couple other things I've looked at that I've read recently about being a pastor, and because I understand like being accountable up the chain, and there's a responsibility to be accountable like to people that are in a higher position than you are. Chain of command, or whatever you might call that, right? That's right. And so there's when we think of accountability, generally, we think of, well, if I have to be accountable, it's going to be up life. And actually, that accountability, many times, is much easier than the accountability of when you have to be accountable down. I'm using the word, it's not a negative way I'm saying this. I'm just saying, for instance, like you said, like in management in a business, the owner of the business and his employees, for instance, up chain or down. And I thought about that a lot, was kind of some of the things we were talking about today, this accountability, that as a pastor, we are accountable to God. That's up chain for us. That's our, and overseers and things like that, and to each other in this group. So we're accountable not only to man, but to God. But then, even in some ways, even greater is that we're actually accountable to the people that we're serving, because we see it as serving them. And we were talking about that today. There's a passage in here, and the question was, should you obey your pastors? In this article that I read today, and should you obey your pastors? And there were several kind of slants given to that on what that means, what that looks like. And the passage that they use is in Hebrews 13, verse 17. It says, obey your leaders and submit to their authority. And here's the reason you do that. It's talking about church leaders in this particular passage. So obey your church leaders, we'll say it that way, and submit to their authority. And here's the reason why. They keep watch over you as men who must give an account, or women who must give an account. So that's a big deal. And it says this, obey them so that their work will be a joy and not a burden, for that would be of no advantage to you. And so when we look at that, I just want us to kind of talk about some of this, whatever comes on anybody's heart, but that a lot of times people think that, like, as pastors, 4 of us sitting here, that we're wanting people to obey us for the sake of some power trip, or for the sake of having some kind of a reputation, or for the sake of us ruling over or lording over a position or an office over somebody. And it's so far, it's exactly the opposite way, actually.
I remember with the Moms on Fire in Tulsa, when I was leading that group, I felt, because the care pastor was over me, he trusted me, he told me that I didn't have to necessarily stick to the curriculum, because he knew my heart and what was going on, that this was really a special thing that God was doing with myself and these ladies that were coming. And so although I had that covering and that accountability, which I was, and I did the steps and stuff that he told me, that I could be led by the Spirit in different ways. But like you're talking about, I felt more accountability to the women that I was leading than the other way. Exactly what you're talking about. Because I thought, okay, here's these ladies that are coming here and wanting to learn about God, and they're looking to me, right? Because God's using me. He's placed me here. I'm a carrier of His Spirit, and they're looking at me to learn. They know I'm fallible. They know me. We're friends. As we went, we became friends. But that was great accountability for me. It was much more that way than the other way, right? Yeah. Because the last thing on earth I would have ever wanted to do was to lead them astray.
That's right.
Anyway, So for me,
That's
it
the-
was huge.
It's,
It was because we took it so seriously, right? If you take seriously the call, it's just like we talked about at Atomic, no matter who is in the pulpit, we believe that they are praying to God, saying, Lord, what is it you want your people to hear?
yes,
And then how do you want me to tell them based on who I am, right? The way I do it.
yeah,
And so we take that super serious. So it's a huge accountability. But a lot of times it's kind of like the pie thing. If you're not a leader, you see your slice of the pie. That's your perspective,
that's what you see.
right?
That's your world that you live in.
But
your
as a
part.
pastor, we see the whole pie because we're responsible for the whole pie. Right? Each ministry being a piece of pie, for instance, right? Each leader is
And every
responsible for their
person that walks
slice.
in the door, a part of that.
Right,
pie.
right. But we're responsible for the whole thing,
All of it.
all of it.
And
You know why the verse says, and Sarah, you go ahead and say it real quick, because the verse says, that verse we just read in Hebrews 13:17 says that the four of us, nobody else in the church right now, we don't have any other pastors in that role in the church. The four of us are gonna be held accountable
higher
to God
accountability.
for how we take care of His prized possessions, His church, His people,
You,
the people.
Yeah.
So we got this, like, it's
it's sobering is what it
if you
is.
think, you're right. I mean, when you think about it.
So I don't usually worry about the accountability I have to you guys, like, as my authority. I don't worry about the accountability I have with Christ. And honestly, that's because of my relationship. I mean, this is 6 years in the making. So even when something occurs, I know I can come to you guys and say, well, this happened, and this is how, and this is what happened, this is how it went down, whatever. And so I don't worry about that accountability because the relationship is so established that you know my heart and you know how protective I am for the two of you and how all in I am with the leadership of the church and Atomic. Same with Christ. I don't worry about what he sees me doing because I have that relationship with him. What I do is what you do is, even like when I'm preaching, I'm praying specifically, Lord, this is not Sarah. Whatever you want me to say is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Because I see it as, I get concerned by what is my example for somebody underneath. Like, cussing like a sailor is not an example that I want somebody to hear. I haven't cussed since I was, renewed my faith 17 years ago. I don't, but it's partly because I choose to sound more educated, also because I ask the Lord to take that away, and also because I don't want that to be an example for somebody else who's underneath me to hear and say that that's an okay thing to do. So, one of the things that we were talking about was it's what people see, what example are you setting? And if you're choosing to do something because you feel that it's okay, but it's an example you're setting to somebody underneath you in authority or in the leadership position or whatever, then they look at you and go, well, she's doing it, so it must be totally fine.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm always focused on, is what example am I setting?
Amen. Accountability, right? Hold you accountable. There's no doubt about it.
The natural chain in life, right? Kind of like the pecking order. You can always be at the very bottom, but like we've always said, leaders are the ones that are going to get in those trenches and do this stuff for people. What would Jesus be, right? He didn't have to wash your feet. He didn't have to go to the cross to do that stuff. He didn't have to do a lot of things. He could have just sat there and said, I'm good.
Yeah, I know.
See ya. But he chose, right, to do something different, to be accountable across the board, with his disciples. He knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So he chose a different route. We're doing the same thing, because we can sit there and say, hey, you got problems, see ya. I mean, go buy a counselor, right? You got your own problems. We don't need to help you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, go figure it out on your own. But that's not what we do.
Nope.
We do the opposite. hey, here's a resource that we know that could probably help. We go do our own research. We look things up, right? We do, data analysis on all these things, going into our decisions. We're doing that because we want to make sure that we're leading by example. Not only that, and we're in the trenches with everybody, right? We're not just doing it to, I can't handle it, let's go deal with it, right? And that's how good leaders become good leaders. It's how the pecking order of the world happens too. If you do those things, that's who people follow. That's who people get on board with, because they know, hey, you've got my back. I'm doing this with you, right? I'm not overseeing you. I'm doing it with you. We're fighting the battle together.
Yeah.
And you're not talking about something you're not doing, right?
Right.
We're doing what we're saying. What we're telling you is what we do.
I'm not going to ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's this conversation kind of came up out of another conversation, and it was just kind of initiated out of a particular document that we had that was kind of like some do's and some don'ts. And the way it was worded on there was pretty strong wording, and talking about don't do this, and you can do this, but particularly don't do these things, and consider yourself for a leadership role in the church. And so this conversation was initiated out of that, and because whenever it's our human nature, Pastor Don made the comment in our meeting today. He said, she's been involved with controlling spirits her whole life, and she remembers this, and that whenever a controlling spirit, manipulative, controlling spirit, somebody that walks up that has the spirit on them, trying to control and manipulate her, like the first thing she does is rebellion, because she
Put up a wall.
puts up a wall. You've not come any closer, and I don't think so, right? I'm pretty much the same way too. I have that to me as well, and so sometimes what happens is we have such a negative, in today's society, there's such a negative connotation with the word accountability. In other words, if I'm going to be accountable to you, that means you're going to dominate me and try to control me. That's today's society feels that way. And a lot of people have had that happen in their lives. And we talked about today that a lot of people take their past experiences of going through that, and they have had people in their life that have dominated them and controlled them.
And specifically, we were talking about churches.
Churches.
Most people have, if they've been in church any time at all,
You have the
been
opportunity.
hurt. They've been in a position where they've been hurt, and so they kind of shy away when there's anything that is similar to an area that maybe they were hurt in, right?
That's right.
And we were talking about that we've got to always be gracious and show mercy, that we don't expect that these people are going to act like those people acted, right?
Right.
Because we're all different people.
And we were talking about that, so to be, and because the question was, should I submit myself to the authority in the church, right? And so the question is not should I or not. The answer is yes, you should. If that authority that's available for you is good authority.
Is lined up.
They're lined up with the Word of God, and they're not controlling, and they're not manipulative. And here's what they have.
And they're pointing you to Him.
They're looking
And
after
His
your
glory.
good.
Correct.
They're looking after your soul, and their heart is turned. They're praying for you, and they believe in you, and they want to help you to your next step up in God, and they're always pointing you to God and all these things, and taking you back to what the Word says about your situation. If that's happening all the time, these people are caring for you. The people that you should be accountable to are the people that are going to be held accountable before God. And if you're going to be accountable to something, there's some good people to be accountable to.
And we
And
also,
accountability is not a bad word, it's a good word.
Right.
You said something
and
about
then I said the other perspective of that is of accountability. If you look at it, it's also covering, right? Accountability is our covering.
what's a covering? What does that mean?
Protection, that umbrella of protection, that they're praying for us in the spirit realm, for praying against, binding the strong man, loosing the Holy Spirit, because of what you just said, the well-being of all the people is our responsibility as the pastors. So with that accountability, it's all again perspective. I don't look at it as accountability as much as a covering. We talked about that.
You made the comment too, Pastor Donna, that for instance, we're licensed and ordained through Victory Church in Tulsa. We're also are part of the VLN, their Victory Leadership Network. So that they are praying for us, and that is our covering. So we are accountable to them, and for us, accountability is not a bad thing to them. What Pastor Donna brought out there was it's a good thing because we're looking at these people are caring for us, they're praying for us, and if people can look at their pastors, and we know this, right? We talk about this. There's good pastors, there's bad pastors. There's people that are just working you. They're trying to control and manipulate situations for their own good, maybe, or their own agenda and all these kind of things. But but I know the four of us, and we don't have that in us. We're not trying to make that at all. So we're caring for our people, you know. So submitting is a good thing in that way. You got people caring for you. And Donna talked about it. Pastor Donna said it's a covering for us. So it's all about how you look at stuff like that. You know?
But again, then the major thing that we all talked about though was it being a heart issue. It's a heart
We
issue.
ended with that.
Yeah. For all of us. For all of us.
Every one of us. What was you going to say, Pastor Sarah? You remember what you were going to say? Well, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I said earlier.
And she said it.
Liz and Elena absolutely agree with us that when you asked, are you supposed to obey your pastors, both of them said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Didn't someone tell us that we're the pastor and not the master?
Yes, ma'am. Never will forget it.
Who was that?
That was Arnold Sanders, Pastor Arnold Sanders.
Rita's on.
Oh, Rita's on. Hey, Rita.
Because we say it all the time, Rita.
I'm going to tell you what Rita said to Donna and I. When we told her, she's been in ministry her whole life almost, and she's close to mine and Donna's age. And hey, Rita, and you guys will get a kick out of this. Not everybody will understand, but she said, we told her.
We thought that at some point we were going to be pastors.
We were going to be pastors, you know. We really started sensing this call. This was years before we came here. This is 10 or 11 years ago. We think that this is what God's leading us to do, like church. And she's like, I've been in ministry for a long, long time. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
I remember, we were sitting at a restaurant. I remember she was sitting kind of catty corner. I remember sitting at the table, if you're still watching. And she looked at us, she said, are you sure? Are you sure you're not called to just be evangelists and go in and come out?
Yeah, you just go in there,
And
you
like,
just go in,
you
and you
didn't have a clue. Why didn't you shake me? No, I'm kidding. It's great.
no.
It
God's
is
timing is
definitely a tough pill to swallow at times.
It's demanding at times.
You know, I remember when we first met, shortly after we met, you had said, and I've held on to this one, you said you have to have a thick skin and a soft heart. And man, my skin's gotten really thick over the years. My heart's getting softer, but that one's a little bit tough sometimes.
It's a key
Because we
to,
care so much.
Yeah.
If you don't care, you don't care. But we do.
yeah,
And that's why it's intense at times.
it's intense. But it's also, for
So
me,
rewarding.
most rewarding
Just
thing
to
I've
know
ever
that
done.
you may have a small part
in company.
in someone's life being changed.
Yeah, yeah.
And give God all the glory.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'm excited about what's going to happen this year in 2021, and I know like just kind of reading different things and hearing people talk, you know, about we made it through the year of 2020, and you know, the four of us have talked about.
We did great.
We've had a good year.
I was sad 2020 ended.
Yeah, we did. We were both like, what?
We do our highs and lows as a family, and
Yeah.
on New Year's Eve, I said, what's my low? 2020's ending. I had such a good 2020. You know, I know that's not what the rest of the world had.
Everybody watching's like, what's wrong?
And what, you know, a lot of the people in Albuquerque, a lot of people in Rio Rancho, I mean, in our state, our nation. It wasn't the same for a lot of these people, but 2020 was good to me.
In what ways? Like how?
In many ways. I mean, we married our daughter away. And that's
Oh,
cool.
man. Yeah, that was probably my highlight for the year. I mean, we had lots of things that happened this year, but that was my highlight.
That was a pretty good highlight. It would have been a good highlight to go to Disney. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
But that'll just come a different year.
It's okay, it'll be a different
it a good year, right?
Yeah.
I got a promotion at work.
Mhm.
Some years of
I got a promotion at work.
Sarah got a promotion at work. I saw Germany, Italy, and Turkey
In 1 year.
in 1 year in a pandemic.
Yeah.
My health has been better. Fitness life has been better. I can go through several lists of stuff. It's been a good year. You just don't have years like that.
That's
But
awesome.
you know what, honestly, I remember, and I'm not saying this is why it happened, but it's part of it,
Hi, Christina.
plenty and 20.
Yeah.
20 and 20.
We grabbed hold of that. We knew that was a word from God.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? And that was before the pandemic hit, right? And so we were
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was
We
plenty
knew
and
that
20.
in December.
Yes.
Well, you will sort of like August.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we started announcing in December. And so, and we didn't hear about pandemic until mid-February. And we were still holding on to that.
and we never stopped, and we
Seriously,
had
this has
been
been a fantastic year.
All the way through.
Yeah.
because we believed that word. We believed that was a rhema word from God, which it was, and we hung on to it. And it lined up with His word. There was scriptures. So, just saying, when you get a word like that, grab hold of it. No matter what it looks like, that's what the word talks about. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what it feels like. The word of God is still true, right? You got to walk it out.
And I know at this table, we all felt 20 and 20. I can look at some of the people in our church, same thing,
Yeah.
and look at all the good things they have. And maybe they don't think they had a good 20, but I bet if you start talking to them, they had a good 20.
Yeah.
I agree.
The ones that really grabbed onto it and said, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
I know somebody that spoke at our men's meeting was Rod.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah.
Rod
Rod
just
got
had
married and in a new house
this
now.
new home, new
Got a new
job, in a different, completely different career field
Yeah.
that he's loving.
Amanda too.
Amanda.
Loving her job.
And they are loving each other, and they've got a new home, and you know, just all kinds of cool things going on. There's something to. There's just something to, like we decided on that we heard this from God, and that we're going to run with this. Expect plenty and 20, and it's like if you, God is able. It's kind of like this is how I see it. I see a lot of times. I mean, I'm not saying there's a quote unquote formula to it, but there's just something to us believing God is going to do something in our lives more than where we're at right now, just because He's good, you know, just because He loves us, and and I think that's what we did. And sure enough, He did it.
I think
No.
one of the greatest things to me about 2020 was, I think it really caused people to realize where they were.
Mm.
With this bombardment in the media, to really, everyone kind of made a decision where they were faith-wise. Whether they realized it or not, they did.
We saw that clear. We have half
Yep.
of our average attendance.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that before all this happened, like we wrote out a survey of questions, and I spent an entire day calling all of our church, asking, what their opinions were one way or another, and our church literally split.
As soon as COVID hit, right,
Yeah.
and it was announced, we decided to survey.
Mhm.
Pastor Sarah conducted a phone call to everybody in our church on the survey, like 15 or 20 questions, wasn't it, or something like that, quite a bunch of them.
Just a lot.
And asking questions, what's it gonna require for you to come to church, and where are you at with all of it? Are you gonna bring your kids, and all these different questions we asked, right, trying to see what our group of people that God's given us, where they at on this thing.
Right.
And there was a huge divide between the fear and the faith. Huge.
And some of it, I've got, you know me, I'm always gonna go, okay, we also have this other tag that we're gonna add to this, because there was a percentage of the fear that it wasn't necessarily fear, but.
No, that's
there
not,
was
no,
help, you
they
know what
weren't
I'm saying?
considered fear.
Right,
But there was a huge
Right.
divide in the fear and the faith. I'm
Is
not
there-
talking about those that
right.
actually had health issues.
Right.
I'm talking
Right.
about fear
yeah,
versus
I just
faith.
like to always clarify
Yeah.
that, because I don't want anyone to think we're saying you're fearful if you're staying home and you have massive health issues and
Right.
everyone's telling you should.
Yeah.
But we
And that's-
made like strides in our church too. We
Yes.
pushed everything because of, Funny and 20. We moved to video and different ways to upgrade sound and how it looks and more in the home type things, even if you're not involved in church.
We're doing them today, we have continued, and we're gonna see how long the Lord will have us continue, I don't know, whenever. We're doing 5 live services of some type, teaching services every week.
So
We were doing 0
we were
before.
doing 0, and we were okay with that. And
Yeah.
Funny and 20 just pushed us over that limit.
I know, man, it's like,
And
so,
it made us do these things. And you gotta look at the different side of a pandemic. Yeah, it's bad. The world's in some trouble. But if you grab onto certain things and you work on certain things, you can be pretty plentiful in any year there is,
Yeah.
pandemic or not.
yeah. God will give you the wisdom to show you stuff and help you and lead you into that, you know.
Well, like he said, right, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And that is, who is that dependent on? Us, right? He's not said be faithful for all things, and you even talked about that last week.
Yeah,
But if we, regardless if something's good or not good, you can find good and learn from it, if that is your perspective and you want to. For me, I've spent more time at home, so I spent more time with God, and I've grown. I know I've grown spiritually too, besides in the different areas,
yes.
definitely. And I think there's been other people in our church, I know there has, that have grown spiritually because of it. Definitely.
We've got, we haven't shared it with people yet, but we have a word for 21 as well. And, we think that we'll probably have some, cards here, we think tomorrow we're gonna have. And we'll be talking about this starting this next week.
Another word from God.
Another word from God for 21. And, it's another, active word. It requires us to be active. And, that's what faith is. It's always active. Faith is active. And, whether this being an expectation, or whatever it is.
And it's based on scripture.
Based on scripture again. And, we're gonna see what God does with this word this year, won't we? We'll sit here next January and go, okay, how did that work out for you? And,
It'll be according to your
Oh,
faith.
I expect to sit here at this table and be like, I did this and that and that and that and that.
I'll say it this way, I say it at church,
I expect it.
we're talking about tithing and giving and being generous and stuff. And I'm expecting myself this to be our greatest year of giving that we've ever had. We've had some pretty good years in the past. And we've made some money to where we are tithing and our offerings are pretty substantial. And so I'm believing that 2021 is going to be a record setter for us. And my goal is not to get rich this year. My goal is to become a greater giver of the kingdom.
Amen and Rob.
And for me, when I think about that, and I'm not kidding when I say that, that is my heart. That really, really is my heart. I think about that, I'm going, that's got to line up with God's will for my life. To increase that I could be a greater blessing in the kingdom. That's the purpose of prosperity, being blessed to be a blessing.
We actually talked about that, not to pat us on the back, but to talk about the heart of giving. We actually talked about at one point that we would rather live, if we had to choose between living in a home or living in a fifth wheel, travel trailer, and being able to give if we lived in a travel trailer, not being able to give if we lived in a home. I'm not talking about tithes, that's a given, but being able to give and help, then we would choose living in a travel trailer over personally. For us, that's our heart. Yeah, because I can't stand to not give. Can't stand it.
I know.
It breaks our heart when there's a need and we can't
Meet it.
take care of it now,
I know.
Sure. Bad. It's not good.
it's who God is. He's the need meter, you know, and whenever we're able to meet somebody else in need and help somebody, you know, you're being used by God, you know, particularly whenever, right, your heart is right, and you're going, hey, this is not me doing something great for you, this is God doing something great for you. You know, and I know the source of this, and he's one that caused me to get the job I had, because he had you in mind. So I'd have this extra so that I, you know, so when it's like, and so it's like that, again, we're kind of back to that pattern of steady just giving. God says that he gives seed to the soul.
You know, something you talked about today, which is one of my favorite things, is that he also says that he'll rebuke the devourer for our sakes. I've stood on that, man. When I've like left my credit card in places, seriously, I have.
When you want,
Left my credit card.
like in a business.
Yes.
Oh, I did the same thing. Remember when I took my check for work, and I called you guys in parade, and we just stood on. I'm a tither. My stuff's gonna be handled, and sure enough, my check was found, and I was able to catch it.
Stuff like that's trip, man.
Yeah, I
He'll do
remember
it.
I was at a conference in St. Louis, Missouri, and we had gone to breakfast, and I paid with my card and just spaced it out and left it there, and realized it when we got to the conference, because I was going to buy a book or something, and I went and my card's gone, and I'm like, oh no. And then immediately, and the lady that was with me was actually Sharon, Sparky's wife, and she's like, oh my goodness, you need to call. But the next session was getting ready to start. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna miss that. She's like, but you need to go call. And I said, you know what, I'm a tither, and God said he would rebuke the devourer for my sake. I said, when we get done today and we go back, they're gonna have it. I said, the angels already went and got it and put it, and I'm not kidding you, I did not give it another thought. I was like, you know what, it's on him. Cause I do what I'm supposed to do, and so he has to be, he's bound by his word, like you were saying today. And just like you, I was like, he rebukes the devourer for my sake. And sure enough, got there, and the person, waiter, whatever, had given it to him, and it was waiting for me. And I never worried about it. Didn't worry. I was like, no, this is on him.
I know, man. It feels.
He watches over his word to perform it.
It's amazing. He always takes care of us in some way. Even when it's like, we don't know how.
Yep.
We can't figure it out. You guys got anything else tonight? Anybody got any more
I
thoughts?
got a very cool announcement to do.
Ooh la la, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well, aside from Faith Talks being at 9 a.m. on Tuesday on Facebook Live, Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m.
Y'all listen up.
Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. If you are between the ages of 18 and 30,
Or know someone who is.
or know someone who is, there is a young adult Bible study group starting at my house. We're just hosting. We're not leading.
They're not involved at all.
We're not involved.
Yeah.
6:30 at my house.
But I'm 29.
No,
I didn't go.
about 11 years ago. You were 29.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Tuesday night, 6:30 at the Ho House. There's going to be a young adult Bible study. It's going to be every other Tuesday. And you want to join this. They're going to have food. They're going to have Bible study time. All young adults, 18 to 30 years old. I'm excited
Open
for
to
it.
anyone. So if you know anyone
Yeah.
18 to 30, tell them about it.
Yeah.
Have them get a hold of.
Well, you can message me if you know personally Alicia Insinuous, Stephen Insinuous, Marcus Sanchez, Rhett Trapman, or Madison Hagler. You can ask any of them. If you don't know them personally, you can message me and I'll tell you the details. But it's going to be every other Tuesday. They're very excited about this. They cannot wait for you guys to join them. So if you know anybody 18 to 30, you want them there to have
It'll be a
time
great
and fellowship
group.
with other like-minded young adults.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday's Word at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. Friday is Worship with Alert.
Woo-hoo.
Worship with Alert. With Alert. Worship with the Word at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live and inside the building.
Saturday, playoffs. Oh, never mind.
Oh, you're funny.
Very good.
Your daddy's funny.
So, thank you, Pastor Sarah. That was really
Yes.
kind of you to tell us about all that.
Yes.
And much kinder than your man on the other end of the table down there.
I mean, he balances me out.
Yeah, whatever, man. I'm telling you, see, Bobby Doolin's got a smart mouth, but your husband's got, for as young as your husband is, he's just turned 40. He's
Right.
a baby.
Right.
But he's got a real smart mouth too, for a baby.
Yes,
And,
but he looks good doing it.
yes, he does. Yeah, he looks all right for a kid.
I mean, you know, the
He looks like for a
post,
kid.
the post that we had today, did you see my post?
Yes, we did.
I-
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Somebody, I'm not gonna name who, but somebody in our church commented about how great my husband's muscles are. And I was just like, that's right, you know, that's right, that's my man. And he looks good doing it, I'm just saying.
COVID's been good to me. Not dryer wise.
Not dryer wise. Laundry.
Okay, I got you. Well, it's been good to me in some ways too, I'll say that. Hey, also, by the way, one more thing. This is a fun announcement. I'd love to announce this. Starting next Monday, a week from tomorrow, we're gonna start our Atomic Church 21 day of praying and fasting, 21 days.
Yeah.
So pray about what
Are you
God would have
excited?
you to do. What you gonna, what
Are you
do?
excited?
I'm very excited about it.
I mean, we've had some interesting fasts over the last few years.
I know that. It's very. I'm
I
very
don't
excited.
recommend all liquid fast. I'm just telling you that because I may have some experience. I don't recommend that one.
But whatever the Lord
Whatever
leads
the
you.
Lord leads you. And if you have questions about fasting, contact one of the four of us. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you about it.
Yep,
But what do you fast? Did you decide yet?
I have.
Are you gonna share that? Not
No,
yet?
I don't think so, not right now.
Okay.
I'll wait till next week,
Okay.
I'll share them a bit, but
Okay.
it's pretty great.
Pretty normal.
Pretty great.
Pretty great.
It's
Great.
it's not easy, it's not easy,
Kind of a big deal.
We're pretty great.
you know, it's the same type of thing we do, a pretty great one.
Pretty great.
You know. But it's not gonna be easy to do what the Lord's leading me to do. I've done it before, but it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And, that's part of what fasting and praying is all about, is to get out of your comfort zone. And there's something about it, man. Whenever you push yourself to get out of your comfort zone and not do things that you're accustomed to doing, whether it be eating or other things in your life, and and then focus your energy to God during those times in prayer.
I am glad we decided that on Monday because we have, first of all, it's my birthday on Sunday. That would really kind of,
Fast on birthday.
bite the big one to have to fast on my birthday. But, just cake. I mean, come on. But then also, we
What kind
got,
of cake are we having?
I have no idea. I mean, we might
Are
have
we
cake.
having?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we are. Okay,
We
never
are?
mind. I was saying we, but we are.
We are
We're,
having
we're,
cake.
we're gonna be eating together.
Oh, yeah. But we're also going to be eating with a family on Sunday. We have the Shays and Reed coming over
Do they know?
for our, yes, they do.
Oh, but it's.
For our
it's
family,
awesome.
our monthly family
Something we're starting.
lunch that we're starting. We actually used to do this a long time ago, but COVID kind of hit and messed that up. But
Explain that, what we're gonna do.
so once a month, we have families that we are going to be inviting over to our house and or Pastor Atwell's house, Atwell's house. And once a month, we're gonna be eating with that family. So we've got it divided up into once a month group of people that are gonna eat with us. The first group is gonna be the Shea family and Reed. They're gonna come over and eat next Sunday. And so I'm just glad that the fast doesn't start till Monday, because I really don't wanna be limited on what we're gonna eat on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't have this, we can't have that, and these people can't have this because they're fasting that, and we can't have this because they're fasting that. No, it'd be
It
great.
gets interesting. Yeah, I look at Sunday as the last supper.
The last
There're
supper.
gonna be 12 of us gathered,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and it's
Well,
coming
and
down to the
possibly
time.
kids, because
Yeah.
the Shays might have their
Yeah.
young
I
adults
hope
with us.
they do, I hope they do.
Did you want to talk about your fasting? You're gonna hold off? You still haven't decided?
Not officially.
Not official.
I'm close.
Close. Okay.
I've concluded what I'm doing, and there really is, so I have done a lot of different fasts through the years. I've fasted quite a few times through the years, and tried different things the Lord led me to do. all the way down to quite a few days in a row with nothing at all, like 0 liquid or food. And liquid fast only for certain seasons and combinations of stuff like that, you know. And there's just something about telling your body no, and then pushing yourself to focus your attention instead of on what you feel when you don't feed yourself. To
The grace
God.
we need to give people because of the hangry that's going on.
Yeah. The first couple, 2 or 3 days, we probably need to all go into a little corner, you know. What do we do during COVID?
Just see what Wednesday's word
We need
is.
to quarantine.
Wednesday's word. We can tell the minute that camera comes on.
Yeah, y'all tune in to
Yeah,
Wednesday's word.
Wednesday's
next
word
Wednesday.
on what is that, the 13th
Yeah,
of
14th,
January
yeah.
might be interesting.
Yeah. Third day of Pastor Sarah's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what happens on these fasts, like you do 21 days, particularly if you're, I'm talking about eating right now in particular. If you're eating and you're not eating and you're doing whatever it is,
Or eating
differently, whatever it is the Lord leads you to do. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. So if you're eating differently, usually about during the end of the 3rd day, around the 4th day, all of a sudden it's like it clicks. And you come to this zone, kind of, and your body finally quits fighting you so hard,
Crying out.
yeah, and you move kind of into a different place spiritually, because this praying and fasting, what it does is repositions, not God, it repositions us,
Right.
changes us,
Yeah.
and it's awesome to
It's
do.
awesome.
It's an awesome thing to do.
It is.
I'm looking forward.
I
to it.
suggest when you do it too, of course, you're gonna talk about it Sunday, but, to keep a journal.
Journals are awesome.
Something, to write. I have mine from last year of, things that I got during that time, that I
Yes.
still look back on.
Yes. Well,
specifically.
cool. Anybody say anything any questions or thoughts that anybody had tonight?
Well, no, one of Zeke's fans are checking on in.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see under the table.
Zeke is doing good.
Wilbur just has a question.
What kind of question do you have?
and it hurt.
That's your question?
That's your question?
I'm sorry.
Levo was crawling across the floor and Zeke started jumping on him and scratching him.
Aww. We have had for the last hour, over an hour, we've had the 3 Ho kids. We've had Abby, Hattie, and Levi, and they have been hanging out, and their parents asked them to be quiet, and they have done an awesome job of being quiet. And Hattie's doing this right now. She's going, no, they haven't. And she's pointing at somebody, and then he's pointing at somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Behind the scenes, though, you guys didn't notice because they're so sly. 2 of them slid across the floor in front of the camera to make it to the bathroom, so that was the door closing.
Yep.
And then there's been some squeaky toys going off because Levi cannot be around Zeke without playing toys with him. So it's been
hard,
fun to
yeah.
watch.
It's so hard for a guy like this. I mean, when you've got squeaky toys and you've got a dog that wants to play, it's just hard, isn't it? Yeah. Well, cool. Pastor David, why don't you pray for us?
Father, thank you so much for this first gathering of the year for our Pastoral Panel, where we let people into our lives and hear what we want, hear what we think, and how we act, kind of behind the scenes. Help us have a great year, Lord. Help us embrace that no matter what we do, if we do it in you, we're going to do well and be successful, and you're going to give blessings upon us. Bless the people this week. Help them have a good week as they go back to work or get back into the flow of things and go to school and back to homeschooling or parenting and teaching all their kids what they need to learn this week. In your name we pray.
Amen. Amen.
Awesome. Good job, y'all.
Love y'all.
Yeah, we love you
Love ya.
guys. Bye. See you later.